I believe we're live. You may or may not know this, but I started this live video about 10 minutes ago and I had to end it abruptly. I received a phone call and it was my mom, and normally she doesn't call me at this time, but it is a perfect example, and my heart goes out to her because we're getting ready to talk a few minutes about this internal pressure that I like to refer to as this internal I'll get it out in a minute, Pharaoh that drives us, that puts pressure on us, that oppresses us in our thoughts. And if it oppresses us in our thoughts and is activated by fear and control, it has a way of putting us in a survival state and paralyzing us with fear. And unfortunately, that's what my mom was experiencing this morning. Thankfully, I can help coach her through these episodes and remind her that she doesn't have to live under the oppression anymore of these thoughts. And this is the invitation to you as well as we talk about this subject on how is it and why is it, and what heart conversations are we allowing that internal Pharaoh inside of us to drive us, to tell us to produce in our own efforts. I'm pausing for a quick moment because I want to see if there's anything that I want to share from what I just walked my mom through with you now. I think I'm going to save it for later if it seems to be a good fit for where we're going. This is going to be a short video, so let's move through this because I've got to go to work. All right. So this internal Pharaoh that drives us, that's what I want to bring to light today, because many of us live just like the Israelites in Egypt, thinking that this is the only life there is. I'm always going to have to deal with this part of me that puts pressure on myself to make these bricks. And we're going to talk about what those bricks are in just a moment. But to make these bricks, to form and produce and produce and produce for what? For being mentally and emotionally exhausted, for trying to control people, places, and things, and we realize we can't, but we feel driven to be in this survival state of, like I was speaking of metaphorically for Egypt. The Israelites, who were God seekers, were felt captive to be in this oppressive state. Yes, they were impressed. They were impressed upon, but they were in this oppressive state. And when we are in a state of survival internally, mentally, emotionally, we shut down. It's not a time to create. It's not a time to explore. It's not a time to let go and trust God. When we are in a fearful, oppressed state, and we are driven by these bricks that I'm going to identify here in just a second, we are in survival, and we are only activating a portion of who we really are, because now it's survival. Not a time to connect with people. It's not a time to even let go and trust God. It's not a time to think about creating and exploring and doing something productive. It's a time of survival. When I woke up this morning, I was wondering, I thought, okay, I know I want to speak on this, but what are the three? I just want three. What are three bricks, Lord, that we try to build with that takes a lot of our own self-efforting and energy and the drivenness? And immediately, three came to mind. I should, I have to, I need to. Let me list those again. Now, these are things that you will hear. I'm asking you, and we're turning up the dimmer switch, so to speak, to the light in the room. And I'm asking you to allow yourself to hear when you think these words and you begin to feel driven by these words. I should. Either I should go do this, I should, or I should have done something. And you feel the weight of that because you didn't feel like you measured up. Another one is the I need to. I need to go do this. I need to lose weight. I need to save money better. I need to do whatever. I need to not be so hard on myself. Okay. And then the last one, I have to. I cannot tell you how much resistance I see in people and remember experiencing within myself when I felt like I had to do something and I had no choice. When I felt like circumstances or people were telling me I have to do something. This is really common for many of us, and I'm still in organized Christianity and religion. Okay, so I'm not poo-pooing the church by any means. I have compassion for the church, but unfortunately, we have put a lot of shoulds and you need to and you have to do these external things in order to be right with God, and it is an oppressive state, and it puts us in a place where we have to do things in our own effort, and we're trying to survive. So I want to expose this lowercase I. You'll see that if you've read The Power of Heart Conversations, I'm not sure, or there's some videos on YouTube where I talk about the different chapters in the book. So if you haven't gotten the book, it's on Amazon, but you can also glean from the YouTube channel. There's some things there. But I love seeing our lives lived through the lowercase I and then the capital I, our Christhood inside. Okay. So all of these things that we are referencing of I need to, I have to, I should, I must. There's another one. All of these, I'm referring to that lowercase I and this internal Pharaoh that is driving us to perform. I want to ask us a question before we move on to our third point here, and that is, why does it feel so uncomfortable when we feel like we are being driven, when we feel like I have to, I should, I must, I need to? Why is that? Why does that not feel like life? I want to pause because I really want you to take a moment and think about that. When we live from that place or that state of being, when that is our internal heart conversations, when that is our internal life, and that's what motivates us. Yes, we might get things done. Yes, we might do the right thing. We may help someone when we really don't feel like doing that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you feel like you are driven and you have to, and you should, and you need to. And inside, there's a part of you that's resisting that. Why? I truly believe mankind was never created to live from external pressure. I truly believe mankind was never meant to be driven and lived by this internal Pharaoh, so to speak, this ego state. This, in biblical scripture, we talk about it as being the fallen nature or the carnal self, the old Adamic nature that lives as if it's separated from God. So the only thing you have to do is to perform in order to live life. I do not believe. I believe that mankind, if you go back to the very beginning, mankind in Genesis 1 and 2, we were created to live in and from the life of God. That we were created to live governing our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors. Not have that imposed and impressed upon us. And I truly believe that's why we resist that. Mankind was never made to be controlled by another man. Never, ever. Now we can yield to, we can submit to, we can be willing to, and that's a whole different video. And we'll talk about that in the next one, because I really want to be able to hit on some practical solutions for you too. But today I just want to sow the seed and raise the awareness to these driven states of I should, I need to, I have to. I'm pausing because I want to see if there's anything with my situation with Mom today that I want to go back to. I don't think so. I don't think so, but I do want to leave you with a transitional point, and I'll share with you an example of my own transition, because I lived with that oppressive, driven state. And here's the thing, guys. The thing is, when we are hearing these I should and I need to and I must and I have to and all of this, it can be very, very subtle. You may not even be realizing that that's what's driving you to perform. And I'm doing this kind of like a needle, okay, on a gauge. So it can be anywhere from subtle and behind the scenes. And because it's so common to you, you just think, well, this is the way that it is. And I'm inviting you to realize that there is a different place to live in and from. And it's called the promised land. And I'm speaking of this metaphorically, and that there is a way that we can transition from living in this state of oppression and all of this drivenness, and cross over mentally, emotionally, cross over and learn how to create and occupy a new place to live. So I'm going to read to you a few, matter of fact, I'm just going to share with you a few concepts from chapter 4 in my book. I share a story at the beginning of every chapter because I really want you to understand and see that the very things that I'm here that I want to share with you and guide you through, I've lived myself. And it may be in a different situation or maybe in a different way. But the truth and the reality that freedom is always available, and it will always start from the inside out. At least that's what we teach here at Higher Way U. I want to share with you a little piece of my journey with this. One of the ways that I stepped out of this driven state was to realize that God never intended for me to be that hard on myself. That internal Pharaoh was not how he created me to be. And one of the very first starting places for me was to take a very familiar passage of scripture. We call it the love chapter. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love believes the best, and all of these things. And I was so focused on trying to live that verse. I should live this verse, right? I was so trying to live this verse for somebody else that I failed to receive it for myself. So the Lord said, hey, this verse that you're trying so hard to live for others, I would like for you to receive that for yourself first. Then you'll be able to give it to others. So I'm going to close this video with these 1 bullet point statements from the love chapter that the Apostle Paul wrote, who we know had no concept of the unconditional love of God until God revealed it to him. And this is what he says about the agape, the unconditional, eternal love and life of God. And this is the invitation that I was invited to start receiving and living for myself. Love is patient. In other words, Tanya, be patient with yourself. Total opposite of Pharaoh, right? Love is kind. Love does not envy, because there is no comparison now. You allow my love, God is saying this, you allow my love to fulfill you, and therefore there is no envy. Love does not boast. It is not proud in the way of, I need to feed my ego. I can take pride in how God is growing me. I can feel good about that. And I believe that's a totally different experience because there's no emptiness in this. But he says that love is not proud. It's not full of shame trying to fulfill itself by being prideful. Love is not easily angered. I began to let go of easily being angry at myself. Love keeps no record of wrongs. There's a big one. Are you keeping a laundry list of all the things you think you're doing wrong and beating yourself up for them? It says love keeps no list of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love, the unconditional love of God, not the drivenness of fear and survival and the I shoulds and I need to and I have to. It says the love of God never fails. So my invitation to you today is to become aware of your internal state. Become aware of that internal Pharaoh voice. Are you ready to cross over? Are you ready to start taking a journey to where you can begin to see a hope and a future without being driven by that all the time? I'm inviting you to join me. I'm inviting you to, join me. I don't know how else to say it, but I'm looking to take some folks over. I'm looking to take some men and women who want to break free of this kind of mentality over into a totally different way to live your life, allowing the life of God to grow you from the inside out. And I'll just simply leave you with this. If this is of interest to you and you want to join our wait list, because we're going to start in June, and guys, it's only going to be $10. You say, Tanya, why $10? Because, I don't know, I want to make it easy. I want to make it an easy yes for you. We're going to meet every Monday night, starting in June. Things will be recorded. This is going to be live on Zoom. It'll be recorded. But I'm looking for committed folks, men and women both, who want to journey from enslaved mentality into mental and emotional and spiritual, that our life, the very life of Christ being expressed through freedom. So if that's you and you want to join our wait list so that you can learn more when we start to open that enrollment, click on that QR code or go to higherwayu.com and you'll find it. It's easy to do. All right. I am going to sign off. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time with how we can live differently from the I shoulds and I must and I can. How did Christ live? We're going to talk about that in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.